we're ready. Good morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order. For the record, today's date is October 8th, 2024, and the time is 9:05. We will now have a moment of silence, silent reflection, or silent prayer. Thank you. Supervisor Patty, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please join us and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Clerk of the Board, can we have a roll call, please?
Supervisor Ding.
Here.
Supervisor Canepa.
Here.
Supervisor Patty.
Present.
Supervisor Rickman.
Here.
And Chairman Villapudua.
Present. Clerk of the Board, can we have our first proclamation, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Our first proclamation is of November 2024 as Caregiver Appreciation Month in San Joaquin County. And I would like to invite Mary Nicholson to the podium as we read this proclamation. Whereas more than 10,000 baby boomers are turning 65 daily, and many may need caregiver as they grow older and live longer. Yet there is a looming shortage of caregivers throughout California. And whereas caregivers manage multiple responsibilities, including managing medical communications, finances, medications, and social connections for care recipients, while also balancing their work and caring for their immediate family. And whereas, as a result, caregiver burnout has become a significant health concern requiring medical, psychological, and economic support that comes from a state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion. And whereas 89% of caregivers are related to their care recipients, with 50% being their parents or parents-in-law, 12% spouses, 8% grandparents, and 7% siblings. And whereas in 2021, the unpaid care provided by California's family caregivers was valued at approximately $81 billion. And whereas caregivers deserve a special day of self-care, recognition, and retooling to continue the vital role they play in our county. Now therefore be it resolved that the San Joaquin County Board of Supervisors does hereby proclaim November 2024 as Caregiver Appreciation Month in San Joaquin County and encourages all citizens to honor the selfless service and importance of caregivers throughout the county. Presented this 8th day of October 2024. Chairman?
Thank you. Good morning, Mary. How are you? Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you very much for the proclamation. Well said. This is the 17th year that Healings in Motion has presented the Caring for the Caregiver or Inner Safari Caregiver Conference, which is November 1st and 2nd. And it's an opportunity for the community to come together to embrace the caregivers and say, thank you, we appreciate you opening up your arms to serve those who are in need. In addition to that, one of the issues that was mentioned in the proclamation was burnout. It's not easy work, and many people who are doing it are not shown appreciation. So this particular event is embracing the caregivers. We are saying thank you as a community. We are also offering some trainings, workshops, great speakers on different topics, as well as have an opportunity for the caregivers to communicate and share some of their emotional challenges. Standing with me is Daniel Kim, who is with Public Health, because it is a public health concern. And in addition to that, we have Philly, who is with, I told her I'd get this totally right, but I didn't. So I'm going to ask you to come up and share your name and the organization that you're with. And then, of course, Daniel Nuss with the University of the Pacific, because again, caregiving is totally the business of care and the work of care. So at this time, I'd like to have Daniel Kim to come up.
Thank you. Good morning.
I'm here on behalf of Healings in Motion. I do work at Public Health, but I think joining Healings in Motion about 10 years ago now, my main purpose was to address the need for stroke care. And that was when I came in and joined the board. But as I did work with Healings in Motion, I learned more about the need for caregivers' attention as well. And I want to say during my time since joining the board, we've seen great changes with regard to stroke service in our area. The fact that we have all 7 of our hospitals that are certified, and now we do need to continue to address the need for caregivers. And again, as Mary said, there's a great disparity with regard to the resources that caregivers have. We pay, there's resources that may be given to nurses who do care, but we know that a lot of our family members are taken care of by other family members, and those are unpaid positions. And the dollar amount mentioned is extremely high. And so we need to provide every resource, and having at least one of these days to designate for an appreciation for our caregivers is great, and really proud to be a part of this organization and continue to not only educate about stroke, but also to promote the need for resources and appreciation for our caregivers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Philly Rilcapero with Always Caring Home Care. We provide care for our seniors at home, living their best life, taking care of them. Our caregivers do a big deal for our clients at home, and we'd just like to appreciate them all for this month.
Thank you, Philly.
Good morning. My name is Danny Nuss. It's a pleasure to be here. Longtime volunteer and supporter of Healings in Motion. And I just wanted to announce that we have another event that's being held on October 26th. It's our Brain Health to Beat Stroke 5K, 10K, and Champions Walk. We come together to celebrate, provide awareness. We're going to have wonderful vendors out there. It's being held on the Stockton campus, University of the Pacific. It's a beautiful venue. If you are interested in signing up, you can go to healingsinmotion.org, and there's a link right there where you can sign up. And for anyone here who wants to maybe even consider providing a donation, all the money that we generate and receive goes back to supporting this community, which is not always the case with some of the larger organizations. So every dollar raised, Mary puts right back into supporting stroke survivors, caregivers, and the community at large. So hopefully some of you might be able to make it out. And if not, please consider making a donation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Danny.
Well, thank you very much. Mary, I want to thank you for everything you do for our community, for Healings in Motion, and all the survivors. As I get older, a lot of my friends are having strokes, and it's scary. So we need to do everything you can to support friends and family. Supervisor Canepa, would you like to comment?
Yes, it's absolutely amazing what you guys do for the community, because a lot of people, there are unsung heroes, the people that take care of our elderly and the people that don't have voices, and oftentimes they're victims of abuse. And so I think it's important that we have more eyes and definitely ears so that we can protect this very vulnerable portion of our society. So having an elderly, my mother-in-law just passed, but if you don't have folks that advocate and are there for, your loved ones, then it's very, very alarming. And then, you know what I mean? Their quality of life is not good. So I want to appreciate all you guys and what you do in, sharing information, getting information out, and getting services to folks that are in need. So greatly appreciated.
Supervisor Ding.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know if Sheriff Withrow is listening or is too busy talking to the district attorney back there, but there was an article in the record this week that was written by somebody's public information officer that described an incident that had happened in San Joaquin County, and it was an elderly man aged 60 to 70 years old. Anyway, I just about lost my mind when I read that, and we're paying attention. But it did in the back of my head. I've been thinking about that. It's just like I keep thinking I don't know, I'm not 20, maybe 30, 40, but it's something to pay attention to, and I've just been noticing a lot more, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Supervisor Rickman.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you all for being here today. Yes, and I agree, and our caregivers should be celebrated, every single day. It's a job that's 24/7, and it is a tough job. And it's great that it's before this board to bring awareness on issues and educate the public, and of course, to increase support for the work that you guys do. So thank you all very much, and God bless.
Supervisor Patty.
Thank you, Chairman. And Mary, always great to see you. And Healings in Motion is in motion. That's volunteer work. It's an act of love and contribution to the community and for so many people that do and work and labor taking care of others in total autonomy. So thanks for the seminars. I know in the past I've been there, and I would invite any supervisor to participate. I remember serving lunch along with Chaka, and he cooked a lot of food, and we were able to be part of just giving a little bit of recognition. So thanks for doing that. Keep me posted on dates, times, a little more information. I look forward to being there.
We all look forward to the event. We'll all be there, hopefully. Will the board please join me for a photo?
Thank you.
Clerk of the board, can we have the next proclamation, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Our next proclamation was requested by our District 2 Supervisor Paul Canepa, and I would like to invite Jennifer Gass and the people that she's brought with her down to the podium as we read the proclamation proclaiming October 15th, 2024 as White Cane Awareness Day in San Joaquin County. Whereas the white cane, which every blind citizen of San Joaquin County has the right to carry, demonstrates and symbolizes the ability to achieve a full and independent life and the capacity to work productively in competitive employment. And whereas the white cane, by allowing every blind person to move freely and safely from place to place, makes it possible for the blind to fully participate in and contribute to our society and to live the lives that they want. And whereas every citizen should be aware that the law requires that motorists and cyclists exercise appropriate caution when approaching a blind person carrying a white cane. And whereas we also call upon our employers, both public and private, to be aware of and utilize the employment skills of our blind citizens by recognizing their worth as individuals and their productive capacities. And now therefore be it resolved that the San Joaquin County Board of Supervisors does hereby proclaim October 15th, 2024 as White Cane Awareness Day in San Joaquin County and calls upon our schools, colleges, employers, and the public to promote inclusive education, employment, and white cane recognition for the blind. Presented this 8th day of October 2024. Chairman Villapudua and Supervisor Canepa.
Thank you, Clerk of the board. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you, Chairman and Board of Supervisors. My name is Jennifer Gass. I'm the second Vice President of the San Joaquin County Chapter, National Federation of the Blind. I have other members of our organization here, Lisa Rodriguez, Joe Leon, and Elena Torres, friends, family, supporters, our local Lions Club. We also have community partners throughout the region, like Community Center for the Blind that provides services to the blind. We want to let you know that the white cane is a symbol of an independent traveler. It really encompasses our mission of securing equality, opportunity, and security for the blind. We have many events to serve the community. We provide advocacy. We are a civil rights organization. We do a lot with the youth of our community to provide lived experience, blind mentorship, and role models day in and day out. We really appreciate this time to share and would like to invite everyone out to our White Cane Awareness Walk this Saturday, October 12th. We will have info tables with San Joaquin Regional Transit District in front of San Joaquin Delta College beginning at 11 a.m. on the northwest corner of Pacific and Yokitz. You can get your name written in Braille, a free Braille alphabet keepsake bookmark, lots of information, and just meet the blind, and then stay on for our ceremony where Mayor Lincoln, the City Council, Supervisor Paul Canepa, and representatives from Josh Harder's office will be providing recognition to this wonderful cause and important event. Then, if you can stay on to walk with us, we have a short option and a long option to end up at Mount Mike's Robin Hood in support of our fundraiser there, October 12th from 9:30 to 9:30, where they will provide 35% of your order when you mention the NFB. So we hope everyone from the disabled community, friends, family, Lions clubs, and our wonderful Board of Supervisors will join us October 12th, and we'll stay tuned to hear more about our Helen Keller mural, which we are aiming to place in June of '25. Thank you, everybody.
Good, thank you, Jennifer. Anyone else like to speak? Anyone else? Well, Jennifer, I want to thank you for everything you do for the community. I have friends that are suffering from issues with blindness, and I can tell you that it's hard, and you guys do an amazing job of helping people. Supervisor Canepa.
Thank you. This one's near and dear to my heart. You know, we want to uplift our community, and this is one of those things that we do. A lot of people don't understand what truncated domes are and the importance of it, but if you can go, it sheds light on the lives of how they live if we can go do that walk. And it's important. I try to make it every year, and we go out and we walk down and go to March Lane, and you don't realize the obstacles, because if you can see it, then you don't have to deal with it, right? Because we can see it. But when we do this walk, it's absolutely amazing, and you become more passionate. And I think that's why I do what I do, is because if we can help to people, they just want to be treated normally. And I think that the white cane is that if we see that and we are more caring and compassionate in our society, I think it makes a better place for everybody to live. So I just want to give you a shout out on what you guys do. And I mean, the bags for the benches, what you do, and the Rotary, and your involvement, and everything that you do in the community is greatly appreciated. And that's why every year I'd like to showcase you guys. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I'm deaf, so. Yeah, I just want to say thank you for being here and everything you do, and I just want to point out to you that Supervisor Paul Canepa, this isn't a once-in-a-year thing where he gets up here. He is one of your biggest cheerleaders, your biggest advocates, and tells us about his experiences and so forth. So I just want to let you know that. Thank you.
Supervisor Patty.
Thank you, Chairman, and Jennifer, and all of you that are here. We truly appreciate your efforts, the awareness, and also the continued engagement you have in our community to make a difference, because you're showing that there is zero limitation in the way you can and will engage and make a difference. So thank you all for being here today and for the recognition.
Thank you.
Supervisor Rickman.
Thank you, Chairman, and great to have you all here once again. And thank you for all you do for not just the Stockton community, but San Joaquin County as a whole, and the 800,000 or so folks that we represent, and especially the advocacy that you all do. I mean, we were just talking about the walk, so keep up the great work. You know, we're proud of you guys, and God bless you.
God bless. Thank you.
Thank you.
Will the board like to join us for a photo?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, un poco. Come on.
Okay, you're good to go. Thank you.
We're going now. Oh, we're going? You want to stay for the home?
We're going to move the calendar around a little bit, and we're going to go to consent calendar first. So moving from my right, Supervisor Ding, would you like to pull any item? Go ahead, sir.
10? I'm assuming we're pulling 27.
Okay, you want to pull 27?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, Supervisor Canepa.
I'm fine, thank you.
Supervisor Patty.
1718.
Supervisor Rickman. Great. Our first item on the consent calendar is item number 17, and it's behavioral health. Approval of the agreement with Fresno County for the arrangement of specialty mental health services for foster children and youth for the period of October 8th, 2024 through June 30th, 2027. Supervisor Patty. That's correct.
Thank you, Chairman. I did have a question. Director Dietrich, thank you. This agreement is mutual because it looks like we're going into a JPA with Fresno. Now, how is that going to work structurally? Are we receiving youth from Fresno? Fresno is receiving youth from San Joaquin County? What's the structure of this agreement?
Good morning, Supervisor Patty, members of the board. Greg Dietrich, Director of Healthcare Services. Genevieve's in a mandated training this morning. The JPA currently exists under Cal Mesa. We have about 10 scopes of services with them. One of those scopes is kind of a clearinghouse for county of placement versus county of origin. That is being changed a little bit, the purpose of that was to basically quickly place individuals rather than people being dropped in gaps when they're out of county. What's being required now is that we engage in direct contracts county to county. Many counties will allow us to do single case agreements, a one-off per placement. Fresno desires us to enter into this specific contract here, so it's outside the JPA. The JPA is more of the clearinghouse mechanism of how we transfer the funds. About 40% of our youth that are our foster youth are actually placed in Fresno County. This will allow us to quickly move people from St. Mary Graham's Children's Shelter to placement. Probation and Human Services are in support of this, but it's really a direct agreement with Fresno County that's a little bit atypical because most other counties will allow us to do single case agreements.
Understood. Thank you. So 40% of our youth that are terming out of foster care, is that correct?
No, so individuals that are basically removed from their home and go into like a facility like Mary Graham Children's Shelter.
Okay.
Of those placements that are out of our county, 40% of those placements are in Fresno County.
Okay. And then are we receiving individuals from those counties as well? And why Fresno? How is it that our youth are going to Fresno? Just a change of environment?
Where the facilities are, and this really kind of came up, we're a little bit of it at a disadvantage. About 6 years ago, when the portal from Cal Mesa was stood up, we actually had a lot of placements from the Bay Area coming to our county.
Correct.
And that's still kind of the case, but this is where we've had relationships. It's also where there are services able for us to contract with services. There's also a little bit of a dynamic because we're looking, not to get totally off topic, but a larger BWAP project for phase one. We're now looking at about 180 beds, $203 million. But part of that is our adult population where we have more than 30% per day out of county. We want to bring them back into county under this B-Will proposal and actually go above that bed cap and support our region. Fresno's in our region for the Prop 1 funding, and part of the dynamic here is can we also support them on some of their adult placements at our B-Well facility and actually have us access additional regional funding. So there's a larger dynamic and a partnership with Fresno County.
Understood. And then, as you had mentioned at one point several years ago, we were receiving a lot of youth from the Bay Area. Is that still continuing? I'm kind of trying to understand, are we sending out 40%, we're receiving that same number? Is there a reason why we're bringing people outside of our county versus taking care of our own and or receiving from other individuals from other counties?
So that dynamic was really, and the reason for this JPA and the portal was people were being placed here. Then there was kind of a haggle. Well, does the placement county provide services? Who funds it? I think that's minimized a little bit now. And the minimization was a couple years ago. Also, there was CMS at the federal level deemed certain of these facilities as institutes of mental disease, which means that they would not fund them over 16 beds. So some of them skinny down their licensure to only 16 beds, and that reduced some of the out-of-county placements coming into our county.
Okay. I'm not sure if I got an answer though of how many.
I don't know how the exact details, but I could probably ask BHS to run a report because all of the county placements that are moving throughout the 58 counties are facilitated via this portal. So we could tell how many placements from other counties are residing in our county, and vice versa, how many of our county individuals are being placed outside our county. But
Okay, I think what I'm trying to understand though is why is it that we're receiving and or sending out? Is it because we want to change the environment where they're at, getting them away from maybe some at-risk behavior, gang activity, or something of that nature? Like, what's the impetus for us to be moving somebody somewhere or receiving somebody from somewhere?
These are primarily private institutions, so they're not county-run facilities. So it's really where these institutions are, where they have contracts, what level of care they provide, and what relationships they have with counties that place them there. So as we do with a lot of our other placements from behavioral health, we have relationships with various facilities where we can place individuals depending upon their level of care, but geographically, where are these entities at is really why there's this dynamic.
Okay, I would like to maybe get some follow-up information. Are we a net exporter or a net importer for people coming here or going out, and making sure we have services for our youth here as may be necessary? Thank you, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I'm going to hold on. We have number 18, Public Health Services, retroactive approval of allocation from the California Department of Public Health for maternal child and adolescent health, Black infant health, perennial equity and finisher program for the period of July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. Supervisor Patty.
Thank you, Chairman. Is this also Director Dietrich, this will be from you? Or do we have anybody from Public Health?
I know Renee is coming more for one of the later items. I have not seen her this morning, but I could address your questions. So.
Okay, well, the only reason why I pulled this, and I know that there are some at-risk births, and in particular in the African-American community, and that's of great concern, but also when I was on March of Dimes, we dealt with a lot of the premature births and at-risk, I guess, environments that some children were born into. And I just want to make sure, is this limited to just African-American, or is this an extended program to any perhaps minority that might be perhaps underserved in our county and need some more awareness, education, nutrition, and medical participation?
So Supervisor Batty, through the chair, there's actually three elements here. The maternal child adolescent health, which is open to all individuals with at-risk pregnancies or at-risk children. There is a specific allocation for Black infant health that only serves individuals that are African-American community, if you will, but the other programs are broadly open to anybody that has a need, a high-risk pregnancy, and we provide education, case management, health screenings broadly to those individuals with public health nursing. And there is Renee.
Welcome. I just had a quick question. I want to make sure that there are not any at-risk pregnancies that are being left behind. So Director Dietrich had just mentioned that it is more inclusive than what is being presented, perhaps.
Is this on? Yes. Definitely. Through the Maternal, Child, and Adolescent Health Program, it's a voluntary program, but we try to capture those high-risk women. We do work with the hospitals, CBOs. Actually, anyone can refer any woman to the program for.
Okay, excellent. I appreciate it. Just, again, my awareness from March of Dimes, there was a very high percentage of minority women that had a lot of at-risk pregnancies. So it sounds like we're including them as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you. Good job.
Okay,
That's all, Chairman.
I see another supervisor. Thank you very much. We're going to back up to item number 10. Supervisor Dring would like to approve, clerk of the board, approve the announcement of 22 positions to various boards and commissions. Recognize Dean Renee DeMelli and Richard Councilman. Supervisor Ding.
Thank you. I think we just have a correction to make.
That's correct, Supervisor Ding. Mr. Chairman, I just need to make a very public apology. In the supporting documents and the title, we asked the board to posthumously recognize Renee DeMolly and Richard Castleman, and I just want to assure the public that neither of them have passed away. They are both living. Renee simply retired, and Mr. Castleman has moved out of the area.
Great.
So we will definitely correct the record so that that is not reflected.
Good to hear. Okay, moving on to item number 27, Public Works. Approve revised residential refuse collection agreements in the unincorporated county service refuge area A, B, D, and E, and F to comply with the Bennett Senate Bill 1383 Short-Lived Climate Pollutant Reduction Act mandates. Supervisor Ding.
Thank you. I will return this to. There we go. An all-day event. I've got kind of a basic belief in government: pave our roads, keep us safe, trim the trees, pick up the garbage, et cetera. I don't think a lot of residents quite understand what's going on with the recycle mandates and the costs and so forth. I know, for instance, like Waste Management just dropped off, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, 44,000 new containers just in the city of Lodi in compliance and the cost. But if you could just give us just a brief overview on how this is going to affect us, I'd appreciate it.
Do you want to do the presentation or just speak to this question? Speak to it, and then we'll see if there's any further questions. Okay, go ahead.
Sure. Supervisor, I can answer your question through the chair. David Tolliver, Deputy Director of Operations for San Joaquin County Department of Public Works. The major service changes required by SB 1383, so Senate Bill 1383 was enacted, and it caused an organic green waste component to be applied to garbage and solid waste pickups. These require services, our contract callers to, on the commercial side and the residential side, to begin to implement these services. We've gone through the process of revising our contracts, and that's what's before you here today. So in refuse service areas A, B, D, E, and F, we have the residential waste hauler contracts for your consideration. The services expectation, the changes that will happen will, green waste services will begin to be collected on a weekly basis. Recycling services will also be collected on a weekly basis, and solid waste services will continue on a weekly basis. The organic and green waste services are new, and the recycling services that are going to be collected on a weekly basis previously have been collected on a bi-weekly basis. And so we're increasing the service level. And again, these are mandates coming from the state, and so it's a requirement on all jurisdictions. Most of the cities in our county have implemented these regulations, and so we're in the process of being compliant.
Thank you.
I see none. I think we're good. Thank you very much. That concludes the consent calendar. Anyone like to make a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
I'm sorry, I apologize, Mr. Chairman, I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
However, I think that you should ask if there are any public comments on consent
Absolutely.
items.
Yeah. Any public comments regarding the consent calendar? I see none. I will close public comment for the consent calendar.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. We have a vote, please.
Chairman, I'll need to do a roll call vote with Patty
Okay.
away from his desk right now. Supervisor Ding?
Yes.
Supervisor Canepa?
Yes.
Supervisor Rickman?
Yes.
Chairman Villapudua?
Yes.
And for the record, Patty's absent for the vote.
Okay, and the motion, consent calendar closes 4-0. Thank you. Move on to public comment. Now is the time for public comment and matters within the jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors that are not listed on the agenda in the minutes and consent calendar and closed session items. Our first speaker is Lorden Cardinelli.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace to the people of good will. We praise you, we bless you, we adore you. We glorify you. We give you thanks for your great glory, Lord God, Heavenly King, O God, Almighty Father. Lord Jesus Christ, only begotten Son, Lord God, Lamb of God, Son of the Father. You take away the sins of the world. Have mercy on us. You take away the sins of the world. Receive our prayer. You are seated at the right hand of the Father. Have mercy on us. For you alone are the Holy One. You alone are the Lord. You alone are the Most High, Jesus Christ. With the Holy Spirit and the glory of God the Father. Amen. I would like to hold a moment of silence for my father, Ross Frank Cardinelli Jr., who was murdered in his bed while he was under the care of Genesis Health District. He was a man of the people, he had a generous heart, and he gave everything. He was my father, and I was his daughter. At church one Sunday, God revealed to me who did it, and they're local people and global people, and they don't like that I speak out against a global centralized control method. And they put my dad on the floor like a dog. And they're sitting in this room, and they're watching this video. And there's a special place in hell for people who murder people. God made me mighty and gave me strength to do this today. If you are a practicing Catholic in the United States, you must stand behind Donald J. Trump and James Vance, or whatever his name is. I don't know it because I have PTSD from being a gang rape victim. Because when I was 17 at St. Mary's High School, 4 boys from Lincoln knew I was a virgin. And they took away my gift of the Virgin Mary, so I couldn't marry my fiance at the time. A few weeks ago, someone tried to abduct my daughter, and then they tried to shoot me at a football game. I'm being followed by gang members because I support Denise Aguilar, and I actively stand for the republic, which our election committee is working to save. It is one voice, one person. If you are a Catholic, I highly recommend you get the Bible that was written by Pope Pius XII. It is the New American Bible. Everybody in this room needs to get right with God, because if you don't think you're going to hell, then you better figure it out. I pray ardently the rosary for the forgiveness and atonement of the people who took my father from me. He was going to train my daughter to run. He worked with a 50% heart so that I could have food on my table and a job and make a living as a real estate salesperson. I pray for God's mercy.
Anyone else like to come address the board? Please come forward. Come on down, Alex.
Yeah, I already submitted a public comment. That's okay.
We're getting to work. That's it.
Good morning. We all know that storms, including hurricanes, could be steered, controlled. Weather modification programs, solar radiation management. There are documents, there are patents, the weather can be controlled. So I have some literature here for you. And mark my words, Hurricane Helene was steered. They know how to control these hurricanes, and they're going in the areas right before the election. And then, mysteriously, we have another hurricane heading towards Florida right now. Going back to emergency preparedness, Hurricane Helene, the media is lying to us. It was not hundreds are died. Actually, thousands have died. There are towns that have been washed away, roads washed away, bridges washed away, And the media is not reporting about this. And what's more is our own government is not out there helping the victims out there that are still alive. It's private citizens, and our citizens' helicopters, and our citizens that are shipping food out there, the off-roaders. Kudos to the American people for standing up, and our own government is not helping the people out there. They're sending billions of dollars of aid to Ukraine, to the Middle East, helping the illegals, the borders open. They don't help the American people. So I go back to the emergency preparedness. Didn't we have an emergency preparedness month last month? Everyone needs to get emergency communication. A satellite phone, you could buy one, sat123.com. You could buy a ham radio, emergency comps, store food and water. Don't think it can't happen here. There was a documentary years ago, right after Hurricane Katrina. They talked about Sacramento being a big flood similar to Katrina. What do they have up their sleeve that we don't know? If they're revealing in a documentary about Sacramento being flooded, you don't think they can control the weather? They control the weather, folks. Second, COVID-19 jabs. We talked about infants. You know, a lot of these mothers that took the jab, the COVID-19 bioweapon, are having miscarriages. The miscarriages are through the roof. This is a bioweapon. It's about human depopulation. And I hope that we have Robert Kennedy Jr. as the next director in the federal government, because he has been standing up. And he's joined allies. He's allied with Trump right now. And there will be justice coming.
Jody Graham.
Good morning. A local group has been conducting a survey for the past 2 years at street fairs and other gatherings, asking residents election-related questions. 349 residents of San Joaquin County have participated in this survey. One of the questions is, to what degree do you believe there has been election fraud in San Joaquin County elections? A whopping 87% of the respondents answered that they believed there was lots, some, or a small amount of fraud in our elections. To be clear, any amount of fraud in elections is unacceptable, and the perception of such is alarming. Thank you, Supervisor Ding, for having the courage to make a change in administrative function of counting the ballots, putting it back to the way it was before COVID and permanent mail-in ballots came to be. This simple change would have gone a long way to help change the public's perception of fraud existing in our elections. It would have prevented the voter from being told that they had already voted when they show up at their local polling place on Election Day. Despite the Registrar of Voters reporting that this doesn't happen because it wasn't reported to her, is simply disingenuous. Did Ms. Hale survey all of her precinct workers during the last election and ask them if they had to turn voters away because a vote had already been recorded in their name? Voters don't know what to do when this happens. They are given a completely fictional provisional ballot and think that their vote will be counted. The provisional ballot is later tossed because the vote has already been processed for that voter and there is no way to undo it. I understand that the small change in when the ballots are processed and counted has received a great deal of blowback and will shortly be rescinded. I must ask why. I understand that this would cause a handful of candidates an inconvenience. They may be calling people who have already voted. So San Joaquin County is willing to risk having disenfranchised voters, people who already feel mistrust in our systems, so that a handful of candidates aren't inconvenienced. There are 23 candidates on my ballot. There are 368,210 registered voters in San Joaquin County. So the 368,000 registered voters of San Joaquin County should risk fraud being perpetrated on them by having their votes stolen so that 23 candidates don't call someone that already voted? This doesn't make sense, nor does it pass the smell test. This is really about a selection and not an election. Counting the ballots and knowing the results before Election Day so that votes can be manufactured to surpass any Election Day voting and ensure the predetermined candidate's victory. Conspiracy theory, you say? Then why all the robust opposition? Those who have the most to lose cry the loudest. This will not go unnoticed by the residents of this county. Stop the tomfoolery. I think we can all agree it's time for action. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Holly Moore.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Holly Moore. I don't have time to stay for the discussion later regarding the elections, but I want you to know that as the Republican Party Election Integrity Officer for San Joaquin County, I am outraged that we are doing what we've always done to protect elections, which has failed. We had a nationwide high-profile election fraud case with Shakir Khan to prove that. That case alone should place election fraud as a high priority in this county. Instead of fighting for business as usual, do you think that that's going to work, business as usual? It didn't work last time. Why would it work this time? We must implement a simple legal way to stop election fraud in this county because about 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 people are being told that they've already voted when they go to vote in person. That's unacceptable. This is a huge number, and it's enough to sway any race in this county, many of which are won just by several hundred votes. I'm beginning to think that election rigging is the very point of the opposition to enacting this simple measure, and that's a crime. The only reason a man or woman fights to stop election integrity is to ensure fraud. There can be no other reason. Security of our vote outweighs candidate finances. Security of our vote outweighs voter confidence. Security of our vote outweighs ballot processing time, particularly when we have a month to count all the ballots anyways. Your job as supervisors is to champion the will of the people, not the will of the 23 local candidates or of the ROV. Yet the will of the candidates and the ROV seems to be all important in this matter. It is not. To subvert the will and the voice of the people and not implement what is easily done to stop election fraud is treason. The only reason that men running in a campaign want fraud is so they can cheat. Your job as the supervisors, along with the ROV's office, is to stop fraud. I'd like to see you have the guts and integrity to do that. It's time for proper action. Thank you.
Our next speaker is John L. Easter.
Good morning, Chairman Villapozo and all the county boards of supervisors. I'm here today to speak on a program that's been working since 1999. And we've been getting small support. And I sent a letter, I'm sure your email, that each and every Board of Supervisors received it. And the reason we're asking for this support is for our veterans. I've partnered with quite a few, the Sheriff Department, the Probation Department. There's a need for disadvantaged population, and they're being passed by. And I know there's so many needs out here for different programs, but the veterans, we're passing them by. I'm also a member of, I'm the chaplain for AMVET, Post 47. So I work tirelessly working with the county, the city, trying to support veterans. And I look at my track record working with the veterans and the population, the people, and I find out the same thing goes untalked about. We see the statistics, and again, the statistics shows that they're still out there. Now, what can we do to help them? Allow us to receive a small donation that can make a difference. I built a church, and I found out in each church there are some veterans. We bury our veterans, and we don't think about it, but all the support is coming from the churches. We have a lot of support from different churches, and we asked the board to follow suit, the county board, just to help us. We had a situation that working with the county permit center, they gave us a stay. And they said within 7 months, we have about 7 months left to get this project off the ground. I've been putting my own money in it. I'm a Vietnam vet. I received money from my wounds. I'm turning that money back into helping veterans. And so I think if we all do just a little bit, a statistic can change. And I got 2 seconds left. And I want to say there's one thing about...
Go ahead and finish. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. There are statistics about post-traumatic stress in our children. And we look over that. But a lot of the crimes is because of what's happening with the veterans' children. And that's some of the things we're working on now. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Juan. Juan?
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. Juan withdrew his public comment.
Okay, great. Anyone else like to address the board? Melanie Knight. I don't know. We can talk later.
Chairman Villaputa, Board of Supervisors and members of the board. My name is Melanie Knott, and I'm a concerned citizen of San Joaquin County. Listen to this title of this news article from a nonpartisan watchdog group. California cannot provide an accurate list of who voted in November 2022. The election revealed 43,624 more votes and over 22,210 more voters than the numbers certified by the California Secretary of State, calling into question the validity of the certification of the 2022 election. The list should have been an exact match to the list California certified, and it was not. This nonpartisan watchdog group sent the findings to the California Secretary of State, requesting a timely response, but have not yet received any. The findings found only one California county matched the certified county-level results. I'm sorry to say, it was not San Joaquin County. 32 California counties had more votes than certified, and 25 California counties, which included San Joaquin, had fewer voters than the number certified, and it was unclear who cast the missing certified votes, as the list contains all who voted in the election, even if they were subsequently inactivated or canceled. Listen to this quote: "Election results produced through any process that bends or breaks the rules deny all legal voters their voice." This should concern us all and leave us to ask, what are the implications for this November 2024 for our San Joaquin County election? To believe widespread fraud is not a reality when clear evidence suggests otherwise is to aid the furtherance of a lie. And to avoid to mention or even look at evidence is no different. The approach to say or fix nothing only allows the fraud to go on unchecked. It's time for action. You supervisors are our local representation of the people, by the people, and for the people of San Joaquin County, and should not turn a blind eye to the truth, but set the standard for upholding truth and stand in the gap to interpose. Leviticus 19:11 says, "Let us not steal, neither deal falsely, neither lie one to another. Let us humbly implore, even appeal the divine protection of Almighty God's protection, favor, wisdom, counsel, and help to restore trust in our San Joaquin County elections." Thank you. Have a wonderful day. God bless you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the board? I see none. I'll close public comment. We're going to move the calendar around. We're going to do item number 2, general government discussion of the state of emergency for regulations for banned THC containing hemp products and efforts to protect and safeguard San Joaquin County youth against illegal and harmful products. And once that's done, we're going to break for closed session for 30 minutes. So I had a Supervisor Brickman. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman, and, thank you for accommodating and moving this forward. I know we have our sheriff here, DA here, and our Director of Planning. I know a couple of things, the reason I brought this forward is, one, to discuss our governor's proposed emergency regulation, which was issued on September 6th of this year, to protect youth from the adverse effects of dangerous hemp products and take related input from staff, and discuss current and potential efforts to protect and safeguard San Joaquin County youth against illegal or harmful products and provide appropriate staff direction. But the reason I brought this forward, and again, this is from a continuation from Supervisor Patty brought this issue to the board here last session, but the sale of consumable hemp products that have a detectable level of THC have been banned in California. The emergency legislation, which came into effect the first week of September, which I just mentioned, proposed by our governor, it banned the sale of hemp-derived THC products in the state. Governor Newsom announced emergency regulation to ban THC-containing hemp products and create a stronger state protection to safeguard California children from the dangerous effects of THC. And we talk about hemp, but it's our understanding also that some of these shops, are also selling marijuana, and they're not regulated like the other marijuana shops are. First, I would like to have Director Jolly come up.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for being here. Now, are you familiar with this emergency declaration that came out?
A little bit.
And, well, what I want to ask is the permit process. Is this conditional use permits for these shops?
For, we're talking about like a smoke shop?
Yeah.
So we do have regulations specifically for cannabis items. All of those do require land use permits. And I was actually checking with my staff right now. We don't particularly mention smoke shops in our zoning code, but they would be some sort of retail sales. They're not supposed to sell cannabis items, so there's different types of permitting that would be required for like a retail sales operation.
Right. The reason I'm asking is that if you have a permit for a smoke shop, for example, and they're caught doing some of these things, THC with hemp and so on, we can shut them out, put them out of business by pulling their permits, correct? Because I know when I was mayor, we had a bar that was getting too rough, too much criminal activity. The conditional use permit, that's why I asked. We just pulled their permit and we shut them down. And that's the way that we did it. Is that a possibility of doing on something like this?
Yes. The short answer is yes. The longer answer is that the board, the planning commission, or the department can propose to revoke or modify a land use permit.
And because I know on that specific incident, they came to the council at the time, the Tracy City Council, and appealed it, and they lost, and they were shut down. So, and this would be a code enforcement. So if we get complaints or whatever it may be, code enforcement would be the primary agency. Your department would investigate those complaints, correct?
Yes, correct. And it would probably be in partnership with the sheriff's office if it contains some sort of illegal activity.
All right. That's the only question I had for Director Jolly. Before I call the sheriff, did anybody in the board have any questions?
Through the chair, I'd like to pipe in if I could.
Yeah,
at
sure.
one point. Yeah, I just wanted to, this is a work in progress. I've been looking at the issue in connection with Supervisor Patty and looking at what Stanislaus County is doing. Zoe Merrill in my office is also working with the sheriff's office and district attorney's office. I think the direction we're going is not to address this issue through a land use ordinance, but instead through a business, something having to do with a business ordinance. Regulation maybe, I've heard suggestions that we take an approach similar to the regulations we have for cannabis shops. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have cannabis shops, but the regulations they have in Stanislaus County for cannabis shops. Alternatively, we could look at this and take an approach, the type of regulations we have for massage parlors. So we are actively coming up with an approach to address this issue, but I did want to clarify, at least at this point, it doesn't look like the approach we're going to be taking will be through the land use process, but rather through a business regulatory process.
Okay.
Real quick, since I saw the floor here, why wouldn't we do it from a land use? I mean, that would be the simplest way. I mean, you have a business who's conducting illegal activity, you pull a permit, you shut it down, we eliminate the problem.
And I've not been, I was not in the meeting because I was out of town, so I was not in the meeting that Zoe Merrill in my office had with the sheriff's office and district attorney's office, so I don't have the details, but their assessment was that a business regulatory approach was more effective than a land use approach. But I can get you the additional details when I have a chance to speak with her more in depth about what the discussion entailed.
Okay, yeah, I'd be interested, and this is one of the reasons I brought this forward, is so this whole entire board can opine on this. But, you know, I'm not gonna have the argument, I mean, right now, but, I mean, I've seen the land use. To me, it's the easiest solution for a land use is, you know, you can do all the business regulations. One, you can do the fines all you want. I know there was I think in Washington, D.C., they had some legislation put forward, and you would fine these businesses so much money. Well, but what a fine is, right? But if you have a business conducting illegal activity, the land use, to me, is the simplest way to alleviate that problem. It is pull a permit, you have a permit, you're not abiding by it, you know, so sad, too bad. You pull it, you shut them out of business, and so forth. So, in your point, I mean, that's nice that you're looking at the business side of it, but the land use is a bigger weapon that you could use than the business. Then, again, that's my opinion, that's based on, at least, you know, what I've seen and what I've dealt with in the past running a city. So with that being said, Chair, I know Supervisor Patty, I think some other supervisors had some comments. I'll yield my time.
Thank you. Supervisor Patty.
Actually, that was my question, with land use versus retail. I don't know what law applies, because land use was maybe what we were permitting for hemp growing in San Joaquin County, or as it related to cannabis. But that's, I think, Chairman, as our county council pointed out, this is something that's in the works. And of course, I appreciate Supervisor Rickman bringing this forward. So, you know, as we know, we just recently put together a little ad hoc committee, a possibility, but if we can move this forward on discussion and look at what's actionable instead of having meetings or talking about it. And I know we have the sheriff and the DA here, and thank you, Ms. Jolly. So whatever we can do that's proactive, I'm 100% in favor of, because illicit activities and products that are being sold that are exceptionally harmful to adults and minors are being sold in and around our area. That's a 100% fact, and it's very concerning for Supervisor Rickman and myself on this board, and I know you as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing from our sheriff and the DA and from county council on anything we can do that's actionable. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? I'm going to open public comment. Yes, sir.
Chairman, can we call the sheriff's department?
Yes, Sheriff Withrow, going to come forward. Part of public comment, right? Okay.
Allowing me to come up and speak. And so yeah, we've been dealing with this for a while. It's been brought to our attention by the Supervisor Patty and some other folks in the community, but it's something that we've been dealing with for a while. As we've talked about in some of the meetings, you know, we back in 2019, we hit one of the smoke shops up at West Lane and Alpine with concerns that they were dealing illegal drugs from behind the counter there, not necessarily the products they were selling, but we hit them for that. At that time, when we tested some of their product, like the mushrooms that we're hearing that they're selling there, we did not find any illegal mushrooms in there. They were either selling fake stuff or it didn't have the psilocybin in it. But But we are aware this is going on. We're trying to be very, very proactive on this. We have 8 smoke shops in our county area, and I know Stockton PD has a bunch of them in their area. And as manpower allows over at their place, I'm sure they're going to be very proactive on theirs also. But we are concerned about any illegal sales of, and now with the governor's order, anything that has THC in it that could be sold to children, or with the governor's order, it covers anybody. It's any age. They can't sell any of that. So obviously, I can't talk about any stuff that we currently are doing or have in the works or anything like that. But it's something that we're aware of and going to be very proactive on. And so any part of this that we can be, we're definitely going to be involved in this.
Great. Any questions for the sheriff? Supervisor Canepa.
I just have one. So my concern is that if we don't collaboratively figure out how we're going to do this, that each city in our county is going to have a different, something on the books.
Right.
So that was for the ad hoc. That was kind of my concern, is how do we get more people together to do it collaboratively so that San Joaquin County as a whole, can divert it, and enforce what we need to enforce,
Yeah,
power
absolutely.
numbers kind of thing. I was thinking. Thank you.
Absolutely. I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel on this. I know that SPD has a ordinance that they use against their smoke shops that's very detailed and directed towards them. And I agree with you. All of us have to have the same thing going on, and that's something we can talk about at our chiefs meeting that we have every month, and make sure all the chiefs are on the same page. And not unlike the camping ordinance, we all tried to get on the same page on that. So definitely, I mean, this is something that we knew would be coming when we started allowing marijuana cultivation type stuff, and we knew the smoke shops were probably going to cross the line on these things, and so we're here to push them back over the line in the right direction, and hold the people accountable who are trying to skirt the law on this.
Great. Any other supervisor? Any questions? I see none. Thank you, Sheriff.
Yep.
District Attorney Freitas, did you want to speak? It's up to you. Come on down.
Good morning, Chairman Villapudua, CEO Regalo, Vice Chairman Canepa, members of the board. As you know, in the District Attorney's Office, we work on 3 very basic principles, which is education, early intervention, and then enforcement. And especially in this area, we've been collaborating with all of our law enforcement partners and county councils and city attorneys in making sure that the regulations are being enforced, and that we do have a united collaborative strategy in this. So last month, we put out a media campaign, which was education, making sure that sellers were put on notice that they were not to sell illegal drugs and not to violate the THC content. If they were doing so, that there would be consequences. And we're also looking at 3 major sources of enforcement. And that's generally done either administratively, civilly, or criminally. And whenever we have a prosecutable case, the DA's office is open for business, and we are prosecuting these cases criminally. But we can also seek injunctions civilly in cooperation with the city attorneys and county councils, or there are administrative actions like through Ms. Jolly's office. So we are focusing on our 3 major strategies, which is, of course, education, early intervention, and then enforcement. And we're looking at using all of our options to the best of our abilities of administrative, civil, or criminal remedies. And I'll take any questions from the board.
Any questions from the board? I see none. Thank you so much, DA Freitas.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public would like to address the board? Okay, I see none. I'm going to close public comment. bring it back to the board.
I have a quick one.
Yes, Supervisor Rickman.
I should have hit my button. First of all, I want to say thank you, Jennifer Jolly, and our sheriff and our DA for being here today. You know, we talk about the health and safety. Of course, that's our primary role of why this is here before us here today. But also, you know, when you look at the legal cannabis businesses that have popped up here in the cities and in San Joaquin County, you know, that are playing by the rules and paying their taxes, and then you have folks that are setting up these illegal shops and so on. And I understand what Supervisor Canepa was saying, but, you know, it's up to the cities of what ordinances, you know, they want to enact. And for me, I mean, me personally, since this is a huge issue, you know, especially for our kids, and it's not just here in California, but it seems to be, you know, nationally with the legislation what the DC Council passed, for instance. But, I mean, I just think it's such not an easy fix, but a more heavy-handed approach in that you can do all the business and the admin stuff, but the land use is the biggest tool that we have. You violate the rules, we take your permit, we shut you down. And I think that sends a huge message here in San Joaquin County that you do, you know, you conduct illegal activity, be it, you know, what we were discussing here today, we'll put you out of business. So that's just my 2 cents on that. So, Chair, thank you for your time. I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Supervisor Patty.
Thank you, Chairman. And again, I appreciate Supervisor Rickman bringing this forward. It's a very concerning issue, and I appreciate the DA's office, the Sheriff's office, being as engaged as they are, because there is a threat going on, and there's a myriad of challenges in your departments on a regular basis. This has come to light in our region. Just in Stanislaus, there was an undercover and a very open investigation that revealed about 75–80% of the smoke shops were selling illegal product. They also had gambling and other nefarious actions going on far outside of their permits for operation. So I am in favor, and I've turned through the chair to County Council. You had indicated that you've been working on something. When and if we go forward with the ad hoc committee or do whatever's actionable, Supervisor Canepa has a great point. We do want to have a collaborative effort with our cities in our counties so that there's symmetry in what we're going to do and what could be actionable to a great and strong degree. Because if you're acting bad, if you've got minors selling product, you've got illegal product on your shelves, what actions are possible, and when will you be bringing something forward that we could possibly take action with?
Yeah, first of all, I'm aware of the desire to have a coordinated attack because we don't want to have a situation where the smoke shops, the smoke shops doing illegal activities relocate to the least strict jurisdiction. And so we are working hand in hand with Stanislaus, for instance. I know you've had conversations with the city of Stockton, and so we're very much aware of the need, to the extent we can, to coordinate with our fellow public entities. I can't give you a definitive answer as to when we're going to have something back. There's a few different things going on, but we're certainly not dragging this out. We're looking to see what steps Stanislaus takes. As I've indicated, they seem to be taking an approach. They will be taking an approach where they regulate their smoke shops similarly to how they regulate their cannabis shops. That may involve having security cameras on site. That may involve having actual armed guards on site. And so that is an approach we're looking at carefully. And then, as I said, my understanding from speaking with Zoe Merrill in my office is that she had a meeting in which, with the sheriff and the district attorney's office, in which they were looking at potentially regulating the industry similarly to how massage parlors are regulated. So we're looking at a variety of options. We will be working with the ad hoc committee to get your recommendations, and we'll have something actionable within a reasonable period of time, but I can't give you a definitive answer because there's just too many things in flux at this point. To Supervisor Rickman's point, I don't think the assumption should be made that if we don't take the land use approach, that the only options we have are fines, for instance. I know there may be some concern that if all we do is fine them, they regard that as the cost of doing business and they continue with their illegal activities. There may be ways in which we can shut them down utilizing business licenses or some other approach, which would technically not be within the land use ordinance, but it would still have the effect of potentially shutting them down if they're acting illegally. So we're looking at the options, and I get the message. You guys are looking for something concrete, and you want it to be strict. You don't want this to be something where we just simply fine them and they roll it into the cost of doing business and continue with the illegal activity.
And thank you, County Council. Recently, I believe it was Sacramento, and in the governor's press release, it talked about product that was found on the shelves laced with fentanyl, illegal chemicals, things of this nature, all bad. So I want to compliment our district attorney's office, but mostly the sheriff and his department for stepping up, getting involved. This is ongoing, the issue, and there's no moment that we could identify that we have not been responsive in this county, and we are moving forward with whatever's going to be actionable. We want it to be definitive, we want it to be just, and we want it to be appropriate for this type of action that may be happening here in our county. But this is, as the sheriff alluded, this is ongoing. So they're doing their job. That's great. I look forward to working with Supervisor Canepa on this. And if Supervisor Rickman, if you want to get on, I will switch off of the ad hoc committee. You from law enforcement, if you want to switch out with me, I'm fine with that as well. But this is a challenge, and this needs to be addressed. So that's my statement on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Canepa, please.
I just needed to reiterate. So my district is basically the whole heart of Stockton. And these things have popped up in lower socioeconomic areas, and they make more victims out of areas that don't have a voice. And that's just my concern, is how do we attack it collaboratively? Because I have county pockets in the city, and I mean, my district is the whole city. So I'm just saying best practices on doing the ordinances so that we can at least mirror them, so that, you know what I mean, they don't set up shop right across the street from a city or, like in my district. But I think that's the most important part, because if you hear it, there's more liquor stores and smoke shops and more lower socioeconomic areas, and people are just fed up with it because they feel like they're being preyed on, and they are, because there's money to be made, and they, you know what I mean, they get our youth, and then they train them, and then they've got a customer for life. So that was just my concern with, mirroring and having best practices, and not, reinventing the wheel, but, making it stronger so that we all are on the same page in San Joaquin County. So thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Rickman.
Thank you, Chairman. And just like reiterate what the sheriff was saying, they have chief meetings. I don't know, what is it, quarterly, monthly, or whatever it may be, when all the chiefs in San Joaquin County get together. So, they talk amongst themselves and so on. So I think that's a huge asset. But to get back to your point, Counselor, I mean, if you have a zoning, what type of business can go into the zoning? That's a land issue. Permits that go along with that. And regardless, and at least what I'm hearing from you, and it's kind of bugging me, as you can tell, is, I understand the business side of it, the regulatory side of it, and so on. And so are you saying to me that if you violate the condition of a permit, mostly from a illegal activity, that there's some issue about shutting those folks down? Because it's done all the time, and when you look at different types of bars and so on.
Yeah, I don't want to speak without having had the opportunity to speak with the deputy county counsel in my office who had the meeting, and why her feeling was a different approach, not to say a lenient approach, but a different approach was appropriate. And so I don't want to speculate. I have written down here to ask that question and to look into the viability of looking at this from a land use perspective. But my understanding is that's not the approach that was thought to be most effective when they had their meeting. It's also not the approach that Stanislaus is taking, and instead they're instead looking at this and trying to regulate the industry and take enforcement action as they do for the cannabis shops. And so, as I said, we want to have some similarity to the extent we can, but I will get you that information, and we'll definitely come back with a proposal we think is going to be most effective.
Well, first of all, thank you for that. And as to your question, Supervisor Patty, no, I'm fine with, you two being on the ad hoc committee. And this is the reason I wanted this back, is so we can get input from all the supervisors, is that, yeah, I'm fine with, Stanislaus is Stanislaus. I'm one penny, I'm 20%, and, I want it as strict as possible. Again, you have a permit, you have conditions of a permit, what you can and you cannot do. And if you're selling illegal substances, be it shrooms or cannabis, whatever it may be, you're violating that permit. And I think the easiest approach, and send the strict message. And hey, when we do ordinances, county have our ordinances, and the cities have their ordinances. We're all our different little sovereigns that we have, and we can be as strict or as lenient as we want. But at least for this supervisor, at least in District 5, again, I can't reiterate enough, if you sell illegal substances to our kids, we should lay the hammer down on you. And how do you lay the hammer down? You put them out of business. That simple. And like I said, it's not just the health and safety of our children and our residents here in San Joaquin County, which is, of course, is always the primary concern, but the legal businesses who are following all the rules, and they're getting, I got to be careful what I say here, following the rules, and it's just the fairness of it. So yeah. I don't need you to comment. It just, you have what my feelings on this. And we'll leave it up to you, the ad hoc committee, to address these issues and bring it back before the board. So with that, Chairman, I'm going to yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to open public comment. Anyone like to come forward, address the board? I did? Thank you. Forget. Anyways, hey, I'm on East Coast time. Anyways,
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a closing thought, and this looks like it's a little bit more informative, and as the board's having discussion, but I agree 100% with Supervisor Rickman. It's like, if you are a bad actor, we don't want you to then maybe come on board and say, hey, if you have violated your terms of operation and what you've been licensed to do, and we have the opportunity to impose a penalty, that you may lose your operation and the permit to continue in business, whatever that legal mechanism is, I'm in favor of dropping the hammer on anybody that's selling illegal product and illegal activities in their stores. Smoke shops in particular is what we're talking about as agendized and as the governor's reference. So as this evolves, working with Supervisor Canepa, but I agree with Supervisor Rickman again that this needs to be a zero tolerance here in our county. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna leave it at this and come back, or you wanna make a motion? Is there a motion?
No, this is just a discussion. We don't need a motion on this.
Okay,
so
great.
We have an ad hoc committee.
Okay, great. Okay, then moving on to closed session. County Council, continue report going into closed session.
I'm not anticipating anything coming out of closed session. My understanding is we're going in just on the labor discussions.
That is correct.
And then we'll deal with the balance of the closed session items after the rest of the meeting, at the end of the meeting.
We'll now break for 30 minutes for closed session. 30 minutes good?
Yeah, that should be fine.
30 minutes, 11 o'clock. Thank you.
adjourn a meeting, if you don't mind.
County Council, is there anything to report coming out of closed session?
There is not.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to convene the San Joaquin County Flood and Water Conservation District to vote on one consent item. We'll open the item. It is approved local corporation agreement between the Central Valley Flood Protection Board and the State of California and the San Joaquin County Flood Control and Water Conservation District. At this time, is there any comment from any board member? I'll open public comment. Anyone would like to comment on this item? I see none. I'll close public comment. At this time, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Great. We have a vote, please. And the motion passes 5-0. At this time, I'd like to adjourn the Flood and Water Conservation District and reconvene to the regular Board of Supervisors meeting. Moving on to,
Mr. Chairman, at this time, it may be
oh
appropriate.
yeah,
if
we
you'd
have
like to-
public comment. I'm so sorry. At this time, we're going to open public comment. We have one member who'd like to speak. Please come forward. Her name is Nancy Moniz, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, Supervisors. My name is Nancy Muñiz. I am a community advocate. I know many of you know me professionally, but I'm here on a personal call to the homelessness crisis. So agenda item 11 regarding your guys' letter with addressing the shelter crisis in San Joaquin County. Thank you guys. I wanted to acknowledge the efforts that you guys have done and the commitment that you guys have made. I just wanted to voice some concerns regarding the actual inventory of housing units available, and maybe we should come up with some long-term solutions that will provide equitable impact for our community. I know all of you guys are familiar with businesses. I know some of your guys' personal roles and professional roles regarding businesses, so I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware that people are, they're being affected not just by being homeless and unhoused, but actually providing economic growth in our community. So it kind of ties in. If you guys do have any consideration in regards to how rents work right now, I just wanted to acknowledge that you guys have had a great long-standing political career that I'm familiar with. So I take very much consideration in your guys' role and what you guys have done politically speaking. As far as a professional perspective, though, I really feel like there shouldn't just be a need to adhere to state requirements to address homelessness and the encampments of surrounding grants passed, but actually some ordinance to stop rent increases in San Joaquin County, because it's causing a lot of rift in the community amongst people, myself, who live here and have to work here and have to pay $3,000 a month in rent in order to sustain housing for my family. I'm not unhoused, but any given day, somebody like me can be unhoused, and it's getting worse. I can only imagine how our unhoused, disabled, elderly individuals who I have, and fortunately in my career, have been seeing a lot of increases in our disabled elderly community as well, that live on a fixed income, that have to pay rent. Over 100% of their income is being towards their rent. And corporate landlords continue to provide a flux of inventory of units available in San Joaquin County, in Stockton, in Manteca, in Tracy, and nobody's stopping them. We have 16 available units at one apartment complex. We have 20 available units at another apartment complex, and the criteria is outrageous, but it's just the cost of rent in itself. So I just want to make sure that we all understand that we're here as a team to help the community and not to be attacking one another and engage in political warfare, because that's not my suit. I'm not the enemy, and I'm not here to make enemies. I want to make a collaborative effort towards the community, much like you guys. So with understanding, I just want to close in Corinthians 5:7, walking by faith and not by sight. So we fix our eyes on what is seen, but not as what is unseen, since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else, public comment? I will close public comment. Okay, following up our 9 a.m. scheduled morning public hearing to establish service charges for County Service Area 14, Logford Maintenance District, increased service charges for Elk Horn Estates and Summer Home Estates Maintenance Districts in County Service Areas 12 and 17, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Districts. Good morning, gentlemen. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Chair Viapudo and board members. I'm Fritz Buckman, your Director of Public Works. This is a time and date set for a public hearing regarding proposed service charges for the district shown on the screen. Well, I thought they would be shown on screen. There we go. As you know, we bring service charge proposals before you as part of our ongoing efforts to achieve and/or maintain sustainability in our special districts. Staff will provide a brief presentation regarding the proposed service charges. Following the presentation and any questions from your board, we recommend that you open and close each public hearing individually. At this point, I'll turn the presentation over to Engineering Services Manager Cheyenne Raymond.
Thank you, Fritz. Good morning, Chair and members of the board. The purpose of today's public hearing is to receive public testimony or written protests regarding the proposed service charges in several special districts. Special districts provide services only to properties within a defined boundary. The primary source of revenue for special districts comes from service charges paid by property owners. Districts also receive a portion of their funding from property taxes. By law, all revenue derived from each district is used exclusively in that district, and each district in general is financially self-sustaining. The service charges proposed today are for various services in 6 special districts. 3 of the charges are for water services and 4 are for storm drain services. Rate structure for most of these services is an annual service charge, which is collected on the property tax roll and based on the single family equivalent unit, or SFE. This is the level of benefit received by the average single family home. Every single family residential parcel is assigned 1 SFE. Multifamily and commercial properties are assigned SFE values based on their benefit of service received as compared to a single family home. Additionally, there are 2 metered rates for water service that are charged per 1,000 gallons of water used. The proposed rates are either rate schedules or inflationary adjustments. Rate schedules are fixed rates for a 5-year period. The proposed inflationary adjustments are also for a 5-year period and are based on the Consumer Price Index, but not to exceed 5% per year. The CPI, the Consumer Price Index or CPI adjustments for fiscal year 2024 through 2025 is 2.6%. Annually, special districts with previously approved inflationary adjustments are evaluated to determine if an adjustment is warranted, and if so, staff will recommend inflationary adjustments up to the CPI, not to exceed 5%. Now let's look at the 3 districts with recommended inflationary adjustments. The first district, County Service Area, or CSA 12 Thornton, is located north of Lodi, east of Interstate 5 in Supervisorial District Number 4. The boundary for CSA 12 is shown on the slide and serves approximately 246 parcels. The proposed rate increases for water service. Rates for this service were last adjusted 5 years ago. The proposed inflationary adjustment for this fiscal year is 2.6% and would adjust the annual water service charge per single-family equivalent from $584 to $599. Inflationary adjustments for the next 4 years may be recommended not to exceed the CPI or 5%, whichever is less. Additionally, properties in CSA 12 are charged a flat rate of $15 for the first 10,000 gallons of water used, then subsequently charged a meter rate for every 1,000 gallons of water used. The flat rate is recommended to remain unchanged, but the meter rate is recommended to increase from $3.03 to $3.11 per 1,000 gallons of water used. Next is CSA 17, Cherokee Industrial, which is located north of the Stockton Diverting Canal along Cherokee Road. The boundary of CSA 17 is shown on the slide and serves approximately 57 parcels. The recommended rate increase is for fire hydrant maintenance and storm drainage services. Rates for these services were last adjusted 16 years ago. The recommended inflationary adjustment for both services in fiscal year 2024 through 2025 is 2.6%. Inflationary adjustments for the next 4 years may be recommended not to exceed the CPI or 5%, whichever is less. The annual service charges would increase the fire hydrant maintenance service charge from $48 to $49.25, and storm drain services from $90 to $92.34. The last district recommended for inflationary adjustments is Summer Homes Estates Maintenance District, located east of Manteca near Highway 99. This district lies within supervisorial districts 3 and 4. This district consists of 21 parcels. The recommended rate increase is for storm drain service. Rates for this service have not increased since the district was established. The proposed inflationary adjustment is 2.6%. Inflationary adjustments for the next 4 years may be recommended not to exceed the CPI or 5%, whichever is less. This recommended adjustment would increase the annual charge from $27 to $27.68 per SFE. The next 3 districts have recommended 5-year rate schedules. Elkhorn Estates Maintenance District is located south of 8 Mile Road in Stockton and is in Supervisorial District Number 2. This district has 77 parcels. The recommended rate increase is for water service. A rate schedule for this service was approved 5 years ago. Due to higher than anticipated operations and maintenance expenses, due to higher than anticipated operation and maintenance costs over the past several years, another rate increase is being proposed. This recommended 5-year rate schedule would increase the annual charge from $1,642 to $2,096 in the first year and $2,589 in the 5th year. This district also has a metered rate per 1,000 gallons of water used at the clubhouse for the Elkhorn Golf Club. A recommended 5-year rate schedule would increase the metered charge from $3.75 to $5.57 per 1,000 gallons of water used in the first year, and to $6.87 per 1,000 gallons of water used by the 5th year. Next is CSA 14, Victor, established in 1975, located east of Lodi along Highway 12 in Supervisorial District Number 4. This district has 124 parcels. The district was established 49 years ago and has funded storm drain maintenance services through fund balance resulting from a one-time grant proceeds. The fund balance is depleting, creating the need for storm drain service charges. The recommended 5-year rate schedule would establish an annual charge of $47 in the first year and $89 in the 5th year. The final rate proposal is for Lockford Maintenance District, which was formed in 1965 and is in Supervisorial District Number 4. This district has 82 parcels. The district was formed 59 years ago and established storm drain services, but did not include storm drain assessments. To provide regular maintenance, an annual service charge is recommended. The recommended 5-year rate schedule would establish an annual service charge of $56 in the first year and $183 in the 5th year. Public Works conducted outreach to each of these districts to inform affected property owners of the proposed service charges. Public Works staff recorded informational presentations for CSA 12, CSA 17, and Summer Home Estates Maintenance District, which were posted on the department's YouTube channel. The YouTube video links were posted on each district's website. During the presentation, Public Works staff explained the need for the rate increases and provided their contact information for additional information or questions. Additionally, Public Works held community meetings in Elkhorn Estates Maintenance District, Lockford Maintenance District, and CSA 14. The meeting participants generally understood the need for the rate increase and were provided staff's contact information to address any follow-up questions. For property owners who were not able to attend the meeting, Public Works staff recorded a presentation and posted the video to the department's YouTube channel. Additionally, a link to the YouTube videos were posted to the district's website. This completes the presentation for the rate proposal for the districts. Now we will explain the Proposition 218 approval process. The proposed rates are subject to approval by property owners through the majority protest process. If a majority of property owners submit a protest to the rate increase, then the increase cannot be implemented. All protests must be in writing and received prior to the close of today's public hearing in order to be tabulated. One protest per parcel is allowed. Protests must contain the assessor's parcel number or site address. All protests must be signed by the property owner, tenant, or their representative to be considered valid.
Chair Villaputua and board members, this concludes our presentation. Following any questions the board may have, it is our recommendation that you open the public hearing and receive public testimony, one district at a time, in the order shown on.
Okay, any comment from your supervisor? Supervisor Canova.
Just have one quick question. So the CPI, how often does that take effect? Because you're saying some of these haven't been touched or changed, and that's because it has to go out for the Prop 218 vote, or are the consumer price indexes included automatically?
Through the chair, Supervisor Canberra, there's a couple of different questions there. Some of these districts have not had rate increases for quite a while, and for a variety of different reasons. In some cases, it's because the rates we had in place were sufficient. When we do inflationary increases and build that into a rate schedule, we usually base it on CPI, and it's the Bay Area CPI, and put a cap on it at 5%. Those increases are considered every year in conjunction with the annual budget, and they're not automatic. If it looks like we need them, depending on where the district's what their financial standing is and what our projected O&M costs are, then we recommend an increase to the board not to exceed a certain amount. We can only approve inflationary increases for 5 years at a time, and that's why 3 of these are inflationary increases that we're proposing for the next 5 years, because the previous 5 years ends after this year.
So a lot of these people don't understand the reason you're coming back is because the cost of maintaining, whether it's pumps, upkeep, has gotten higher than our cost of the CPI index is allowing.
Right. The structure of the rate is not being increased. It's just to account for inflationary increases that tend to occur over time. Correct.
And as costs and maintenance elevate.
And labor costs.
That's why we're in the predicament we're in right now with some of these.
For the inflationary increases, I wouldn't characterize it as a predicament. It's just.
No, I'm just saying the cost of
a
maintaining.
Reality of the cost of doing business.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. No, I'm just saying the cost of maintaining it, not the inflationary cost. I mean, sometimes there's unforeseen costs in maintaining these districts that we don't see, and that's what causes, because the multiplier doesn't go up and there's no extra money to do anything that's, right?
Right. Well, those costs tend to affect the rate structure themselves, so we would increase the rate structure to account for unanticipated costs that are beyond what we have assumed in the capital replacement program. But inflationary increases are just creeping prices, gradually increasing over time, just reflecting the cost of doing business, not because the structure of the rates or the services we're providing are any different.
Okay, so there's 2 variables. Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Patty.
Thank you, Chairman. Through the chair, and this is just cost. We don't make any money on this. This is pass through. We just oversee these districts, but we don't actually profit in any capacity.
That's correct. The law requires that we charge no more than what is needed to provide the service.
Right, and then and for a couple of supervisors may not know, because some of this has come up in the past, but each of these districts could be, and they could vote to be independent of us and do all their maintenance and all the planning and all of the replacements on their own. So we kind of we take on that burden for them.
Right. There are their districts that we manage on their behalves. If a district property owners wanted to, run the service by themselves, that they're certainly free to do that at any time.
Good. I just wanted to share that with a couple supervisors. This first time it might be coming to them. It used to be my district, and in the past I've got still friends out there, and there was a gentleman here that was very upset. You have a 100% cost increase for the Elkhorn That's, he was going to come in and have public comment about it. How is that being justified? Again, that's a pass-through. That's not our rates that we're charging.
That's correct. And I talked to Jet General for 10
Yes.
or 15 minutes this morning as
Yeah.
well. I have to look at numbers of what the last increase was. We did increase their rates pretty significantly for water about 5 years ago, and there were a number of repairs that
Correct.
that
There were
really
well
reduced
casings and a bunch of things that
Exactly.
yeah.
They had some problems with their wells, and so we adjusted their rates 5 years ago. There's really several factors that led to increases this time around. Our labor costs increased more than we expected. PG&E costs increased more than we expected. But most significantly was the Stockton East pump tax increased much more than we had anticipated. 5 years ago when we set the rates, we assumed an inflation rate of about 3%. Those three components were much greater than that. There's also last year, or last rate increase, we phased in a capital reserve contribution amount up to about half of what we needed long-term, just to ease the pain of doing that, because this district, the rates were not, did not include any, reserve for capital contributions and future repairs and replacement of equipment.
Right.
So we stepped it in half over 5 years, regardless of what our assumptions were on the cost over the 5 years, the higher than expected cost. We would still have needed to come back this year to phase in the last half of the capital reserve replacement. So between the last two adjustments, it's been a pretty big increase. I don't think it's been 100. I think it's been just north of 70, but it's significant nonetheless. But that includes the capital reserve contribution that's now fully being made, and unfortunately some higher than expected cost increase.
Right. And when you were done speaking with the citizen from that region, did he understand that it's not us charging rates, it's passed through?
Yeah, I think I understood. I don't think he was pleased, and I don't blame him. They're big increases, but I also shared with him places where he could get additional information about the districts and on our website, and who our staff contacts are if he had any questions. But I think he understood. I would stop short of saying he was pleased.
Right. Understood. And is there another option in some of these regions where they could tap into and get a service from the cities?
There are, as you may recall, when we did the public meeting for this district about 5 years ago, that question was asked. And at the time, the city was notably more expensive, even with the increase we had proposed. Today, they're about the same. They're virtually the same. So yes, they could switch to the city. Yes, they'd be on surface water, which has some benefits too. But cost-wise, that would be neutral for them at this point.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Supervisor Rickman.
Thank you, Chairman. Real quick, most of these adjustments are because of inflation, correct? So the inflation's high right now, but when it does hopefully it does go down, you can be back before this board to reduce costs.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure.
Well, inflation's high right now, so inflation adjusts. So if it does, when hopefully, for all our sakes,
right.
It does go down and the dollar is stronger than before, are you going to be back before this board, because that's going to lower prices, correct?
It would, but there's a couple of things. As it's actually pretty modest, the CPI right now. For this year, we're recommending 2.6%, which is much lower than it's been the last several years. But as the inflation is lower, as measured by the CPI, it reduces the cap by which we can recommend a rate increase to the board. So next year, for example, if CPI is 2%, that's the maximum inflation adjustment we can recommend. But again, as I mentioned, these increases are not automatic. We review the district financials and projected operating costs every year in conjunction with the annual budget. And if we don't need it, we don't take it. And I think we have a pretty well-demonstrated history of doing that. And usually there's a significant proportion of the districts where we don't recommend the full increase.
All right, sounds like a plan.
Okay, at this time, anyone else? Can we get that screen back up, please, with the items? I'm going to open the public hearing, and we'll starting with CSA 12. Any testimony or any protest? I see none. I'll move on to CSA 14. Any testimony or any protest? I see none. Move on to CSA 17. I see none. We'll go on to Elkhorn Estates Maintenance District. I see none. Lockford Maintenance District. I see none. And Summer Home Estates Maintenance District. I see none.
Chair Viapudua,
yes.
We have received no protests, and so the board is free to act as it sees fit.
Great. At this time, we'll accept a motion. So moved. Is there a second? Second. We have a first and a second. A vote, please. And the motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 1, general government discussion. District 4, advise the register of voters to proceed with the first counted ballot method and set up a system to review future voter education and election outreach materials. Supervisor Steve Ding.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had this on the agenda 2 weeks ago. I want to bring a few things to the board's attention and then let you make your own, decisions as well. One of the things that I've been looking at is some of the Newport Beach, some of the other cities that are charter cities that are doing their own election results. For instance, charter cities, regardless of what the governor's office says, all the law schools agree, are allowed to set their own election criteria, including voter ID. It said what, but even in those cities where the law's on their side, they decided to wait till 2026 to implement because of the confusion right before the election. And although I personally feel that what we did 2 weeks ago is correct, there's been a few candidates, that have complained, Tom Petty, because they want to see the election results immediately that night, what have you. At the end of the day, by midnight, the same amount of ballots are being voted on. It's just the order in which they're being voted. However, my concern is a little bigger in that I'm worrying that process outweighs my own personal opinion, and we might have moved this along a little too quickly. One of the things this board has advocated the elections office is to prioritize in-person voting. Unfortunately, all the mail that went out said, put your ballot in the mail immediately. Then we go and we change the rules on the elections office 2 weeks ago to prioritize in-person voting and make sure that those people that show up at the polling place, if there was anything funny going on with the drop boxes, what have you, that ballot would be first in. My concern is when it's like shoving a square peg through a round hole, and when you're meeting resistance, something's gonna go wrong. And so I wanted to put that out there, that maybe what we ought to do here is go with the process that was established prior to our vote 2 weeks ago, and that is first in, first out. All those ballots that were received before Friday, Saturday, and drop boxes are in the mail get counted first. And then the precincts will roll in, later that night. Further, I do want to, this ought to make Supervisor Patty happy. I want to create an ad hoc committee, or actually, this is a perfect place for a member or two, the ad hoc committee of our elections advisory committee. We really need to make sure that what we are advocating is being done is actually being implemented. For instance, when we say we need to prioritize in-person voting, and then the marketing department or whoever prints our election material sends out material completely contrary to what we've been talking about, we have a problem. And so it's not a catastrophe, it's not, but we need to get on the same page in the future elections and make sure that, you know, somebody reviews the material and make sure it's implemented in the way the county wants us, or the Board of Supervisors advised. So my recommendation, and I'll leave it up to the board, is, because I am worried if something does go wrong, the people are gonna get blamed. Well, you should have left it the way it is, and maybe we didn't give it enough time, and that we ought to just hold off until the next election because there's a few more things we need to put into place too. So I'm basically sitting up here eating crow and saying, I think I made a mistake, and I want to advise the board if they want to reverse the decision they made 2 weeks ago.
Any questions from the board? Olivia, I'm open public comment. Public comment is now open. You would like to address the board? Olivia, would you like to come forward? Any comments from you? Wow, okay.
Through the chair, no comments at this time, thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Canepa.
So just the portion that was at question was counting the absentees, and that's the first hit for data, right? And that was the concern, so it's pushing it off from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, and that's why, because it makes it more complicated for the office, correct? So.
Actually, this is a political question, not an accounting question. At the end of the day, by midnight, the same amount of votes are going to be counted. It's just what goes in first. The reason we established the Election Advisory Committee was one of trying to instill a sense of fairness within the public and making sure they realize exactly what we're doing is transparent. Some of the biggest concerns we got from the public with this Publishers Clearinghouse election we're doing now and mailing ballots to everybody is that the ballot that actually counts to the election office is the first one received. So if someone goes to the polling place and they say, sorry, you already voted, what have you, and it doesn't matter, we're not arguing facts, or I don't have evidence, or nobody filed a police report. It's perception. And so that was a concern. So the way we addressed that concern was people that go to the polling place and vote, that would be the first in vote. So if there was some shenanigans going on with mail-in ballots, those would actually be kicked. So that was our whole purpose. And again, it's, we're trying to establish integrity within our system and give everybody a peace of mind. And so that's why I did it. Okay. What we were doing before that is, yes, all the absentees, 8 o'clock, you're having an election party, and 8:05, the big numbers come up first. But again, it's process. I still believe the other way is the correct way to do it. But what my concern is, we jammed it too quickly through, and our messages, our printed mail, everything we're doing isn't matching precisely.
All done? Supervisor Patty.
Oh, wait, Olivia was going to say something.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh.
All right, thank you, Chair. And first of all, I want to appreciate Supervisor Ding for bringing this back and having a little discussion and getting clarity. But there is not one supervisor that envies the position you have to be part of. You've kind of just maybe spoken up a little bit about it, and I volunteered you to be leader as it relates to, from this board as we engage on elections and standing up the advisory committee as we have. So thank you for listening, being responsive, and bringing back to us things to listen, or as you were listening, but things to possibly implement that would change, adjust, or improve the process. As far as the absentee, or they're now mail-in ballots, because everybody gets one, we are all in favor of security. And in fact, I'm one to speak out on behalf of the integrity of a mail-in ballot because we're going to match signatures. I can show up at any polling place and say, my name is Mary Jones. I can sign, I live at 123 Main Street. I could sign XXX and be given a ballot randomly just because I said my name and gave an address. There's no signature match. There's no verification later for that process. So, is it a perfect system? Absolutely not. And I appreciate that you're bringing options for us to see how we can refine it and enhance it or improve it, make it better. And I'm all in favor of that in the twilight of my last few meetings here. Thanks for doing this, bringing it forward. I do agree with you that I think at this stage, where we're at midstream, we may not want to shift over to the in-person voting only tabulated, which probably be somewhere around a 10 p.m. first report that we would be releasing, and there's a lot of anticipation and a lot of people that are sitting on the edge of their seats. So I appreciate this coming back to the board, and if your intent is to maybe walk back, and it's not eating crow, it's just refining what we're doing and bringing it forward for another day.
I'm eating crow.
I don't think so. No, you're being responsive to the citizens and the community that have asked, and that's your job as a supervisor. And again, nobody on this board envies the position of overseeing that commission, committee engagement, and being the person receiving those calls. So, thank you for doing that. Otherwise, it would have been, I would have volunteered Supervisor Villapudoa, our chairman, but he was able to escape it because I just thought of you as you had spoke out on the issue. So I do appreciate you bringing this back to us for consideration. I agree that we should stick with, as the ROV's process and mechanism is, you will qualify ballots up until, Saturday will be your cutoff, and then those will be verified signatures on mail-in ballots that will then be at 8 o'clock, will be ready, press the button, you'll be 2 in tabulations. And then from there, as Supervisor Ding, you pointed out, first in, first processed, they'll just keep going forward with other mail-in ballots or other ballots that come in, we're just putting them through the system. Is that correct?
Through the chair, Supervisor Patty, it will actually be, yes, we will do the vote by mail ballots through the Saturday before the election, and then we will prioritize all poll ballots on election night after that 8 p.m. release. So the 10 p.m., the midnight, we'll keep processing every 2 hours until we're completed on election night. Hopefully we're done by midnight is the goal, but we will continue to process. And then after election day, Wednesday, we pause and reset. We will begin processing the remaining ballots on that Thursday, and then we will do our first release of results on Saturday. And I will be putting out a press release informing the public of our tabulation schedule and all of that so that they're aware.
Okay, so a couple questions for you through the chair. In the past, we had a long delay on some of the reporting because we didn't have enough processing machinery or capacity to verify signatures. And is that something that we've acquired additional equipment to expedite that process?
That is correct. We have 2 vote by mail sorters, or 2 mail, they're envelope mail processing sorters, so they are able to process the vote by mail ballots much faster. And then we have a setup of a 16 workstation with 2 people at it, so 32 people doing signature verification. And so we've increased that and created a centralized space in our office to where it's all under camera and behind glass, so actually observers can come in and watch signature verification as it plays out. All signature verification happens in that one space, and across from there you see ballots being inspected and all the different processes, so it's very open and transparent now.
Okay, and I'm going to just drill into a couple numbers here. What's the percentage of people that are voting by mail-in ballot or the, I guess mail ballots versus going in person?
Okay, hold on, if I may, just to clarify, because I really get pissed off at these numbers, and I'll go completely south on you here if we're gonna go down this road. I don't want you to give him the number of most of the mail ballots, whatever the hell you wanna call those, publishers, clearinghouse things, people are dropping off at the polling place because they still don't trust the drop boxes or put in the mail, and they like the idea of going to their neighborhood polling place. Okay. The initial numbers the ROV released after the election clumped all those mail like everybody loved it and everybody just dropped them in. where you had like 40,000 of them were actually dropped off at their polling location. Those numbers should be included in same-day voting, not in mail voting. So,
Yeah, fair enough. So how many ballots are mailed in advance? Like, let's say on that Saturday, you will get X amount, how many people, and then how many people are going in person, dropping off their ballots on the day of? What's that percentage look like?
Through the chair, Supervisor Ding is absolutely right. We had 28,000 people we had a 34% turnout in the presidential primary in March. Of those voters, 21,000 chose to drop their vote by mail ballot off at a polling place on election day. We had 28,000 total that used the drop boxes in that election. So we had 128,000 votes actually cast in the primary. So absolutely, those numbers are there. Unfortunately, the way it works is I still have to include those in vote by mail. They're not,
you don't have
I can't
to.
break them out.
You don't have
When
to
we
do
report
anything.
them.
You have to do what we ask you to do.
So roughly 50% then were mailed in the actual mailbox. Basically what you're saying, there were day of drop-offs, you're in the 25 to 30,000 and vote in person and all that. So it's roughly 50%, 40 to 50%.
I would say that the majority, I mean, if you look, I think there was a turnout of 13,000 in-person voters that actually voted either by in-person live ballot or provisional. We did include, because a provisional ballot is a live in-person ballot, and that was included in the numbers. And if I may, through the chair, to clarify, when a vote by mail ballot is dropped in an envelope with that signature on it, by state law, I do have to verify it through that process. But I hear what you're saying. Maybe we could do something where we had vote by mail election day drop off or something. We could break it out the way we used to break out provisionals. So that could be something that we could consider, but I would still have to process them the same way as other vote by mails, but we could categorize it in our reporting possibly different. I can look into that.
Okay.
I can, manipulate stats just as well as anybody else is. I want you to understand, just by the numbers she's given you, how important it is to people, and it's demonstrated in the numbers. People like to go to their polling place, and when you've got almost a majority of your vote by mail ballot, publishers clearinghouse, whatever you want to call it, where they could have just dropped it in the mail, but they feel that sense of community and dedication, and they want to go to the polling place, which brings up a whole nother issue we'll get into later, is making sure the same people are assigned to the same polling places. They've always been. It's not just about a numbers. It's not just about manning precincts. It's community. And when you start transferring people that have worked at a certain polling place forever to the other side of town, it doesn't exactly fix that problem. But we'll get into that later. But we're all on the same page. We have some issues we need to work out. So let's do it that way.
Supervisor Rickman.
Thank you, Chairman. And I just want to reiterate, Supervisor Patty, and thank you, Supervisor Ding, for all your hard work on this for the last few years. And I guess it's not a committee assignment per se, right? But it's it's probably one of the busiest jobs that any of you have, more than any of us have up here, dealing with the elections. You hear the different things with state law versus county versus, it jumps all over the place. So thank you, because I know we all know that you put tons and tons and tons of hours of your personal time also into the election, what we're dealing with here with. So thank you for that. It doesn't go unnoticed, and I know for me, your opinion does hold a lot of weight because you are the boots on the ground. You are the supervisor that is front and center on this, so thank you. Secondly, just real quick, since Supervisor Patty mentioned security, cameras are up and running, correct?
That is correct. They've been up and running since Friday, and drop boxes were unlocked on Monday morning.
So everything's working fine?
Everything's excellent. We did have a vandalism event at the Kennedy Community Center again, like we did in the last election, but I was able to identify it before the box was ever unlocked. I went out on Saturday evening, because I noticed the camera's offline on our website, I went over and determined that it had been vandalized. We immediately deployed the EarthCam company to fix it. On Monday morning, we did have to unlock the box on time, so I sent 2 county staff over in one of our outreach vans, and they sat at 8 o'clock. They unlocked that box. They sat there until about 4:15 p.m. yesterday, and by 4:15 in the afternoon, EarthCam had a new camera up. It was installed and mounted on the roof of Kennedy Community Center, and we're up and running, and we're good there. I wanted to give a shout out, if I may, to General Services and to HSA. I got in touch with them over the weekend. By 8:30 in the morning on Monday morning, they had all worked together, and all 3 county departments came together to make sure I could get that camera up and running again. So just shout out to the other departments supporting the elections office.
Oh, that's great. And if folks want to go view the
It's right on our website. You go to current election, click live a link, and you can see all 25 boxes. It's been branded with our color. We had ISD work on it, and it's branded with the county colors, and it looks great. And all of them are up and operational, and you can watch live stream right now.
Oh, that's great. I just wanted to make sure the public know that it's up and running. Go ahead and go to ROV website, and you can follow the link from there.
And I'm happy to report that it looks like EarthCam will be very responsive if we have any issues that arise. Just seeing how quickly they deployed and handled business for us on Monday morning was great, so that gives me confidence in what we're doing.
That's great. Thank you.
Supervisor Ding. You're good? Okay, Supervisor Patty.
Yeah, quick follow-up. As it relates to, we've heard some concerns about drop boxes that an inordinate amount of or unexpected amount of ballots were brought in, and have we qualified there's a ratio of rejection or fraud from signatures that don't match? I got the ballot because I have an apartment, and 5 ballots arrived in my mailbox, and therefore we're open and available for a lot of fraudulent activity, and so therefore these fraudulent ballots are brought to the drop boxes, and there's all this nefarious action going on. And do we have a percentage of rejections from our drop boxes for all this fraud that is the concern of fraud?
As far as fraud, I would say no. What I do have available is how many ballots are rejected from either a missing signature or a mismatched signature. And then we're required by law to send cure letters to those voters. So they're now receiving another mailing saying, hey, we received a ballot. Something's wrong with this signature. We need you to verify and provide the proper, verification of the signature. And so that process is done. And then what I would say is if there was an instance where somebody reported, I know we don't want to get caught up in what's reported and all that, but with our voter fraud hotline that's been something established with a collaboration with the sheriff's office and our office, since we launched that in 2022, we had one claim of someone that called in and said that they hadn't voted, and it said that they voted. And so the sheriff, I pulled the envelope of that voter, the vote by mail envelope. I provided that to the sheriff, and they were able to determine that that was that lady's signature. And then she's like, oh, I must have forgot. She voted very early in the season. And that's the only one that I'm aware of. Again, but if there is stuff, like I've said before.
I think that was my mom, so it's okay.
If you see something, say something, and we're going to take it seriously. And we do have the support of this full board, and we know that. And we want to make sure we're in alignment. And anywhere that I'm missing it, I want to have those conversations. As I heard Supervisor Ding mention, I actually provided a packet to each of you of our materials from 2022 to 2024, and just seeing we've made some progress, but there's always room for improvement. And I don't want you to ever think that I'm not receptive of areas where you want us to improve or investigate the law and see what we can do in conjunction with county council and vet it. I'm here for that. It's challenging. There are times that I worry how stressed my staff is, but I know that together, if we continue to work diligently, that we're going to continue to do good work, and that's what I hope to do. So I am receptive of what you all propose. I know sometimes it's not always the answer of, oh, we can absolutely do that, and it's just checking and verifying that we actually can, and I am here to support that.
I would like to see if and as possible that with the drop, as it relates to drop boxes, and we hear about and we've got video, and I saw somebody walk up and they put a bunch of ballots in the drop boxes. Again, this is of concern. We've already identified that the envelopes are watermarked. We've identified that you can't just go copy and manufacture these things and send them in because we have sensors that would reject fraudulent, counterfeit ballots. So, but we do want to make sure that whatever the individual is, they've filled out their ballot properly, they've signed the envelope, and it's been turned in, even if a neighbor said, I'll drop it off for you, or even if the ballot has been harvested, we want to verify the signature, and the actual voter is the person that is supposed to be and designated to have received that ballot. So, with that said, could we track and find out how many ballots might have been rejected because they were signatures that don't match and they were called upon and they came down and the signatures still didn't match, or there's something that was improper about drop box ballots by any
Absolutely.
proportion amount?
We can share the numbers post-election, what was cured, what wasn't cured, that were related specific to signature mismatch, and we can, obviously, no signature is a little bit different of a tracking process. We can track them the same, but we can report back
Yeah,
post-election.
and this is important. It's part of the integrity of our elections that we want to assure.
Absolutely, and when we do our update on December 10th, we will bring that information forward.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm
Any
done,
other,
Chair.
any other questions? Let's see. Okay. We're good?
What is
No.
Supervisor Ding doing on your lap?
No, we went to the live feed, so it's working fine. I just wanted to commend you because we saw the trial.
Much better.
Yeah, definitely.
Good to hear.
Supervisor Ding, you want to make a motion?
No. Move to approve as motioned.
Okay, we got a first?
So have we identified what we're approving? What's the identified?
That we're moving it back to the pre.
Original?
Yes.
He wants to make a motion to make the original how we started.
We're redoing it. We're getting rid of what we approved the last meeting and going to prior election counting processes.
We are temporarily doing that for this election, and then we're going to revisit it after this election.
Perfect. That's
That
your
wasn't
motion?
what I said, but okay.
Okay.
I'm not sure if our vice chair knew what he was
I'm
making
sorry,
a motion
through the
of.
chair, I apologize.
No, that's fine. We have a motion, and there's a second.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second to vote, please. The motion is approved, 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day. Moving on to Clerk of the Board, approve the 175th Ad Hoc Planning Committee proposal and $250K in related budget adjustments. Clerk of the Board, Rochelle DeBoard.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon. By 1 minute, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, county administrator, and county council. I want to thank you for this opportunity to bring forward the proposal of this board's 175th anniversary ad hoc committee. As you may recall, February 2025 will mark 175 years since the California State Legislature passed an act creating California's first counties and then later joined the Union in September of 1850. As one of the original 27 counties, we hope to mark the occasion with festivities and education events to build community and civic pride. The ad hoc committee was authorized by the board and is comprised of Supervisors Canepa and Ding, board staff, multiple county departments, and the San Joaquin County Historical Museum Executive Director. The proposed theme is 175 years of growing greatness, which is intended to celebrate not only our local government history, but the collective history of every business, nonprofit, partner agency, and resident who has contributed to the greatness of San Joaquin County. We hope that this inclusive theme encourages businesses, organizations, and our tourism industry to find their own ways to celebrate our anniversary together. To start off the year, we propose developing a commemorative county seal. Our current county seal was designed by high school students as part of an art contest in 1962. The winning design was submitted by 14-year-old June Sand of Ripon. In honor of this history, we propose conducting a similar art contest for a commemorative county seal celebrating our 175th anniversary to be used throughout the year. If approved, we would like to reach out to Mrs. Sand to confirm that she is still in the area and inquire about joining us as a judge for the contest. To celebrate, the committee has proposed various public events, starting with a kickoff event in February 2025, and encourages county departments to develop and create public historical exhibits reflecting their respective department's history to be on display throughout the year. The Historical Society has also been preparing for this anniversary and will have interactive historical exhibits running from March to June. We propose a celebration in June at the Historical Museum in collaboration with the Historical Society. We are also recommending a 175th Gala in spring at the Hagen Museum. This would be a ticketed event at the museum for an evening of food, art, music, and history. If approved, we would reach out in hopes of partnering with the Stockton Symphony Association, which is the third oldest orchestra in California, founded in 1926 by Manlio Silva. Further, we propose taking our anniversary on the road to each of our 8 incorporated cities. If approved, we would work with local governments, chambers of commerce, and any local historical society to host 8 birthday parties throughout the year. This will help build camaraderie with our city partners and allow residents throughout the county an opportunity to see historical exhibits and events in their own communities. Lastly, as we welcome 2 new supervisors to the board in 2025, the clerk of the board's office will be working with the county administrator's office to bring department presentations to the board throughout the year, highlighting their services and programs. In honor of our 175th anniversary, we would encourage departments to include a brief history of their department in the presentations. If approved today, the clerk of the board staff will proceed with the commemorative art contest, and the committee will move forward with planning the details and logistics, obtaining cost estimates, and exploring partnership opportunities to support the county's anniversary. It's important to note that at this stage, we're presenting a very high-level proposal to ensure we're headed in the right direction, and these events are still in the preliminary planning phase. Before I conclude, I do want to thank all of the volunteers and staff of the ad hoc committee, and a big thank you to our vice chair and presumed 2025 chairman, Supervisor Canepa, for your enthusiasm for this vision. The goal of celebrating our anniversary is, as the theme suggests, a celebration of 175 years of growing greatness in San Joaquin County. The investment in this celebration presents a unique opportunity to boost our local economy by attracting businesses and visitors to our region. It is my hope that by learning about our history and celebrating our anniversary with our neighbors, we will all experience a renewed sense of civic pride, collaboration, and commitment to the future. Understanding that these are taxpayer resources, every effort will be made to keep costs as low as possible and still achieve our goals. Together, we can continue to build on our rich legacy, strengthening the bonds that unite our community and inspire us in the years to come. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This concludes my presentation, and I look forward to questions from the board.
Thank you for that presentation. Any questions from the board? I see Supervisor Canepa would like to speak. Joaquin, no.
Real quick, I just want to commend Rochelle and the volunteers that have helped so far, and the ideas that we've come up with, and hopefully you guys will approve this. But I mean, I think it's really cool because we're trying to do outreach. I mean, we're trying to get with the chambers in each town, hopefully kind of when they were incorporated, so that we can go and whoever can make the events obviously can make the events. But I think it's, reinforcing the idea of community and our cities and our county and when they were incorporated, and so that we could do, a better job of not only tooting the county's horn, but I mean, tooting the city's horns also. So, but I appreciate the effort and the time and energy that you put in it, and the staff too that have helped do this and put this forward. So thank you.
Supervisor Patty.
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair, one suggestion. I know I've talked with our Madam Clerk about this several months ago, and then she had noted that because of the anniversary this next year, that might be a fantastic time to do it. But an idea that I'd like to see implemented into this is a photograph with our past board members and the current board, which obviously there'll be 2 new people next year, so we'll have an opportunity to be inclusive at that anniversary. But we've got, judge, we've got retired supervisors in this region that I think it would be great to have a commemorative photograph as we're at that 175-year mark. And then speaking of photographs, we haven't done a photograph yet of this board. We're at the twilight of the year. Usually that picture is up throughout the year of the composition of this board, and we seem to have not gotten that done. So if we could get that scheduled before we're gone, I think that would be appropriate sooner than later, and that might be in the works already. But I'd love to do the commemorative photograph if you guys can coordinate that and sooner than later into the next year. Thank you.
Do you get that done about January 4th?
Anyone else like to speak? Public comment? Anyone like to come forward and address the board? Please come forward.
That's an exciting new thing to come and bring in this element to the community. I just want to suggest maybe with the Historical Society, the gala, maybe making that affordable to the public. I feel like there's always a separation of class, and our public deserves to have some sort of exposure to these events as well. I know they're kind of above price level, so just to have some consideration to the public's needs too when you're demonstrating how their tax-paying dollars are being used and utilized, and maybe increasing instead of 8, maybe making more 12, or maybe more community organizations available to participate instead of just the chambers. But just suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Sounds like we have a volunteer.
I see no one else. I'll close public comment. And at this time, we'll accept the motion if it's.
I have a quick.
Oh, Supervisor Rickman, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. When we do pictures or the historical side of it, I mean, you get reaching out to the historical societies, like, for example, Tracy. I know Ripon has, a nice historical sort of echelon, so getting the information from there also. And I looked at on the line items for the $250,000. Why does Supervisor Canepa, then will be chair, need like a top hat and a monocle and a baton? Is that really necessary, or?
We do think that that's very important, yes. Especially for the picture.
It'd be like in college game day out there, the baton leading the band. No, I think it's great, man. Yeah, I think you guys, the ad hoc, you guys did a good job, and I think it'll be cool to see all the history side of San Joaquin County, and a lot of people don't know about. So good job. Looking forward to it.
And we are looking forward to collaborating with Ripon, Escalon, Tracy, all of our cities, Lodi, Stockton, Mentique, and of course Mountain House now, to work with nonprofit agencies, partners, our business community, our historical societies. We want this to be an entire community and very collaborative. And then for it to spur in the community when they're hosting their events or doing things, that they also highlight that this is our county's 175th.
But I think we can all agree, I think everybody in this room watching, 5th district is the best district, so.
I've heard that before, I'm not sure where, but I think I have
sure.
heard that a few times. And absolutely on the picture, we look forward to seeing what we can do. I know Canepa had also mentioned about bringing together all of the board members, past and present, for some opportunities to get together. A picture would be fantastic, and yes, we are working on a group picture to commemorate Chairman Villapudva's year as chairman.
Really big, bigger than everyone else, please. I want a giant one. I don't know.
Like the one in your office.
So, Chairman, I have a question. Who's our community volunteer that's over here? I don't know if we've gotten identified from you, who you are. I'm sorry?
Her name is Nancy Muniz. She spoke during public comment.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Supervisor Muniz, thank you. Thanks for being here.
Supervisor Canepa.
No, I just want to commend too, we were always looking for each department to have volunteers, and people are offering up folks with great ideas, you know what I mean? Because, we want the theme to be greatness grows here, and it's the employees. So that's how trying to showcase the people that have made 175 years of greatness possible. So that was kind of the theme. And so with Rochelle and bringing folks in, and I thought we were going to have to, pull some more folks in, but everybody's volunteering. So I wanted to just appreciate the staff that's volunteering. Thank you.
Okay, great. Anyone else? At this time, we'll set the motion.
No, I'll take my motion off. Why don't you guys go ahead and do it?
I think, Paul, you should do it. If you're the chairman next year.
Second.
We have a first and a second. A vote, please.
No.
And the motion passes 5-0. Congratulations, Paul. We will be there to support you, Tom and I. And also, moving on to Board of Supervisor comments and committee reports. And I'm going to start with Supervisor Canepa.
It's been a pretty busy week. We went to the Hmong Community Garden event where they have been celebrating out there at the fairgrounds, and it's just nice to see young and old folks out there promoting, community gardens. So that was Saturday, the Pride Day on Yosemite Street. And then another one, a lot of big people's friends, is Craig Simi had Simi Heating and Air Conditioning, ribbon cutting. We've been working hard on wellness and wellness and mental health. Obviously, the Health Commission, Community Health Board. We tried to stay on top of it with the Smith Canal, the oil that was spilt there. And it was one of those another things, jurisdictional kind of nightmares, but it all got worked out. And I think we did a good job as far as the county in collaborating all of the different agencies, city and county and California Department of Wildlife and Coast Guard. And so that was handled. I mean, some of the things were kind of pivot and dealt with. But it was, I think, all hands on deck for that. Obviously, we've been doing the 175th planning for next year, which is huge. Attended a few coffee with cops in the neighborhoods. It's Stockton PD and the Sheriff's Department, Lincoln Center. It was a great turnout. We're obviously, we had the Domestic Violence Summit at UOP, which was a well-attended event. Workforce development, and then also we're trying to find an executive director to lead SJAFCA. So those interviews are also ongoing. So thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Ding, would you like to go? Okay, Supervisor Rickman.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a couple of things. It's been busy month, but I know was it September 26th. When did we go? Yeah. 25th, 24th, 25th, 26th, around that date. Myself and our county CAO attended the San Joaquin Valley Regional Association California Counties Conference in Bakersfield. You know, it's nice when the 8 Valley counties, get together to, speak as one voice and advocate for issues that better our community. So we had a good time, learned a lot. I know we discussed PG&E and, farming, energy, and so on. So it was very, very productive. A lot of different events in South County. I'm just looking through here real quick. We celebrated the 50 years for the Tracy Firefighters Annual Pancake Breakfast. It's another great opportunity for a great cause, but also for getting the community together for 50 years. So, it's pretty cool. And also over the weekend, my wife and I, we attended the Boys and Girls Club gala, named Champions of Youth. Great turnout, raised a lot of money for our youth and for the Boys and Girls Club. It just doesn't serve Tracy, but I know they have one in Escalon, so on. So it's great to see the community come out and support our kids. Also celebrated the Central Valley Gujarati Community Association. They had a great event. Same thing with Porba over in Mountain House. And you know what? I'm going to end it there. But another thing too, the football season. And if you're a football fan, hey, go out and support your local high school teams. Every Friday night lights, right? And it's a great time. And I know Katie's a Georgia fan, and Alabama beat Georgia here a few weeks ago. So that was fun to tease her for a while on that. But again, thank you, Chairman, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Supervisor Patty.
Thank you, Chairman, for cutting off Rickman. That was going to go on endlessly. He's not willing to give up the microphone. I have 2 things to report and an observation that I want to bring to the board's attention. But on Thursday, September 26th, I was able to, on behalf of this board, present the $500,000 check to Delta College for their 1,000 jobs for 1,000 students. I'm really proud of this board supporting that. Heard from so many students and faculty members. This program is a major boost to Delta College and for many of the students. So great job to this board and our CAO for figuring out a way to do this. I'd like to see, and as myself and Supervisor Villapudua transition out, if and as possible in the future, for you guys to keep that going, because it is truly significant for a lot of the students. And that's you here firsthand when you are there. Also on Sunday, the 29th, there was a Gold Star Family and National Day of Recognition. As most of you would probably know, my Chief of Staff, Mike Anderson's son, Mike Jr., had died in service to this great country in Fallujah. And so Mike is reluctantly a Gold Star father, and it's a burden that families bear, of course, losing a loved one in the line of duty. So on behalf of the board, I was there, proud to be there as well. And then we do have an observation and report. Supervisor Canepa went to apparently 7 Coffee with Cops, and he filled up a giant thermos that apparently he brought somewhere else. So that was a little bit concerning, but nonetheless, it was nice to make those appearances, and the officers, the deputies, everybody appreciated it, and had some great conversation with the public as well. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. County Council, anything to report going into closed session?
No, I'm not anticipating anything to report out.
Okay, it's adjourned today's meeting. Thank you all for coming.
Real
Yes, sir.
quick, I forgot to mention, it's also Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Okay.
And I think we all know somebody who has suffered from that horrible disease. I thought it was going to be put on this agenda for a proclamation. I'll bring it back here on our next agenda so we can proclaim this month Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Great, thank you. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you on the 22nd.